What's up, everybody? So I'm already in week 5. Time's been flying. I just got off work and I wanted to shoot this video before I got too tired or just plain on forgot. So I know I've been, trying to keep up with the videos and everything, and sorry I got a little behind on week, let's see, well, this will be my 5th week altogether in training, and then but it's week 4 of on-the-job training. Excuse me, I'm trying to fix this screen on my end here. Okay. All right, so I know I've been behind on my videos. I wanted to make a video every week for all the progress during the railroad training. But, we work a lot of hours, and during the training, they want you to kind of be a part of the crew. So when the crew leaves, that's when I like to leave. They ask me all the time, do you want to go early? Because as a trainee on OJT, which is on the job training, you don't get paid for overtime unless you go over 48 hours. So some of the guys, they know that we're not going to get the overtime for the most part. So they just say, hey, do you want to leave? And it doesn't really look good if you say yes. During training, you want to take in as much as you can. So I got in the habit of just sticking it out for the whole shift. Some shifts are quick. 7.5 hours is what our shift normally is with BNSF. If you work for CN, which is Canadian National, I believe they have a minimum of 10 hours that you have to work. If you want to work for CP, which is Canadian Pacific, you have to work about 12 hours. I don't know about UP. I don't know. I'm guessing it's about 8 hours. But with BN, we have to put in at least 7.5 hours. For the most part, we can get done between 5 hours or 12 hours. It just depends on the workload or the amount of hiccups you might have on the job. I actually experienced a pretty serious hiccup situation last week. I ended up staying a little longer than I wanted to because I wanted to head home last weekend. But one of the rail cars that goes to the energy plant and it dumps the coal, they have a machine that actually picks up the rail car and it will flip it around and dump the coal. It's awesome. It's an awesome process. It's like a big robot. It'll pick up the whole entire rail car and it dumps the coal right in there. And we had a situation where the robot grabbed the wrong car that did not have what they call like a rotary knuckle, a knuckle that can spin around all the way around like 180 degrees. So the whole knuckle in the drawbar on the train broke in half, and it was quite a mess. And we ended up working later because we had to try to get that broken rail car back into what they call the roundhouse or the carbon. The carbon's job is basically to fix defective rail cars. So we tried to put a strap on that rail car. It's like a big, huge nylon strap. We tried to take the initiative so that the carbon didn't have to go get it. So we were going to try to tug it back with us. And before we can even start pulling, that nylon strap just, all the seams like broke right in half. And that train did not even move. It was ridiculous. So the carmen actually came and they hooked up about 5 of those straps plus a chain. And I'm looking like, okay, this is a cluster. Like all this, the chains and the straps were just wrapped around, and it was just, they were pretty crafty though, the way they were kind of doing it. I wouldn't have known where to hook it up to. I mean, it was not a whole lot left to work with. But they do this every day, and they actually hooked it up pretty good, and we actually were able to drag that rail car all the way to the roundhouse where they do the repairs on it. So by the end of the day, I was tired, and I just didn't have it in me to do that 7-hour drive back home. So it's been, today's the 19th. So it's been exactly 1 month since I've been here, and I have not made it home yet in the whole time. So I definitely got to get home this weekend to take care of some stuff. So I had to talk to one of my instructors. Hey, how you doing, Bobby? What's good with you? Thanks for the positive words right there. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Focused and endurance. Yep, you're right on that. And that's true. I have to be focused on this job. It's hard to focus, when you have a daughter, a 3-year-old daughter. So I think about her all the time. She was really mad at me for leaving. A couple of times she ran off camera on FaceTime. I tried to do FaceTime with her. She would run off and didn't even want to talk to me. But now she's starting to come around a little bit. So I got her pictures, all in my room and everything. So that's the hard part for working for the railroad. There's a lot of travel involved, and if you want to work for the railroad, you have to, for the first 5 years until you get seniority, you might be away from home quite a bit. You're going to have to carry what they call a grip, which is like a backpack, and, have all your essentials in there, your hygiene, your equipment, because you're going to most likely be on the road, which is basically meaning you'd be putting some miles on the tracks, and you'd be staying in some hotels for 1 to 3 days. And you will be on call 24/7 when you first come out of the training program. They call it the extra board. And there's ways that you can look at the extra board and kind of see where it's going to fall and see if you're going to go in that day. So, yeah, if you want to work with the railroad, just the rewards are great. The pension, the money, everything's great. The only thing is your work-life balance. You have to understand if it's going to work for you and your family. Hey, Lori, how you doing? Cousin Lori. Yeah, you wanna make sure that the railroad is something for you. I chose it because I was in a point in my life where I just felt like I hit almost a brick wall. I wasn't happy with what I was doing and with the chemical manufacturing business. I've been running my own business for about 10 years, and it was just put a lot of stress on me, and it kind of was one of the reasons why my relationship failed. I just was doing too much. I was trying to work a 12-hour job, and I was trying to run a business and trying to take care of a household, which I did. But I have a 18-year-old son, and my son was acting out, running around, acting crazy, and I couldn't be there to see everything that was going on. I was just doing too much. I thought it was just more important to hold down a family financially, and I dropped the ball. So I had that serious breakup in April of last year. It's almost been about a year since my breakup, and that was hard on me. We were together about 6 years, and we had our 3-year-old daughter together. And when we broke up, I took it hard, and I had to find myself. I had to figure out who I was as a single person. I was always that family man who took care of his family, and when I didn't have that family, I just didn't know what to do with myself. So I heard a radio commercial for the railroad, and that's how this whole thing kind of started. And I feel like that point in my life, the railroad probably saved my life. I mean, I was in a very dark place, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And the railroad gave me another chance of excitement in my life, to travel and see sceneries that you can't see unless you're on the tracks. Going up mountains, and a lot of things we do on those tracks, you won't see it unless you are on a train. So being able to see that, hey, what's up, Jose? How you doing, man? So it saved my life. I feel like I was just in a really depressed, dark place with that breakup, and it was bad. So I feel like I was in the right place to start a career with the railroad, because I didn't think there was any other options for me that was gonna be challenging enough or exciting enough. I didn't want to go work in another manufacturing plant, working with chemicals or any manufacturing plant. I was just tired of all that clocking in 9 to 5, and you feel like you're in some kind of prison until it's time to get off work. And I just realized that, it's not for me. So working for the railroad and working outside has really been good for me. It's enjoyable, and it's been great. So for anybody that man or female, if you feel like you need a change in your life, and you feel like the job you're doing, if you're just sitting in the office and you love being outside, you might want to think about joining the railroad. We actually have a guy in my class who used to work on cures for cancer, and he said he just couldn't stand sitting in that chair in that office and working and on the computers and all that. He said he had to get out of there, and now he works for the railroad. And we actually have a lot of super smart people who you would never think would work for the railroad, but they decided to join the railroad. We have people that used to be police officers, firemen. We got a guy who just used to be like an accountant in the office. And a lot of people decide, hey, I want to work outside. I want to travel. I want to see some scenery. I want to do a job that I don't do every day or something different every day. And it's amazing, you know. There is no other job like the railroad. I mean, it is absolutely different than any other job you will ever have. If you're coming out of college, you should think about a job in management with the railroad. There's train master positions, yard master. I know like the UP, Union Pacific, they're always looking for managers. So there's a lot of jobs for, you know, college students looking to work for the railroad as, you know, as a manager or a train master or something. Those are great positions, by the way. So everything doesn't have to be, you know, outside, or, you know, if you're not that type of person that want to work outside, there's plenty of other jobs you can do with the railroad that don't involve even having to really touch a rail car. So there's plenty of opportunities. All you have to do is go on Indeed and just type in railroad jobs, and you'll see a bunch of jobs. The railroads are booming right now. Last time when I was looking, every railroad was hiring. They were all calling me. You know, I had an interview with Union Pacific. I had an opportunity to interview with Norfolk Southern. CN has sent me emails for taking their tests, their assessment tests and stuff like that. But I already found a job with BN, so I'm definitely not going through that whole process again. I mean, it's a long process. So I'm in, and I'm just gonna do what I do with what I got. I'm actually glad I got a job with BN, because BN is a great company. If you go to glassdoor.com, you can actually read a lot of reviews. Hold on a second. Let me read some of my comments that I got here. Yeah, Lori. Yeah, I do see a lot of beautiful scenery. You definitely do when you're up on those mountaintops way up, and those that, you know, if it's winter or something, or if it ain't winter, you're gonna see snow on those mountains, and that can, you know, that can be a little bit scary if, you know, it's snowy and icy, and you have a lot of tons that you're pulling. You gotta, you know, the engineer has to be real careful when he's going down a steep mountain. He has to count for that speed, because slippery conditions and all that weight, plus ice, plus snow, that can cause a serious derailment, or, you know, you can kill somebody if that engineer is not focused. So yeah, I mean, even though there's beautiful sceneries in the wintertime, it's beautiful, but it's also very nerve-wracking, because you're coming down a mountain and you're going, you know, 30 miles an hour, and you got 140 tons, and your train, you don't have control of that train, and it can be a serious problem. So although, you know, it's beautiful, you still have to pay attention to what's going on around you. As a conductor, which is what I was hired for, you know, our job is to look for signals. We have to make sure that we're in the clear of all the signals, and just do a lot of radio dispatching. So I still have a lot to learn when it comes to a lot of that. I'm still in training. I'm only in week 5. They actually pushed our training out a whole nother 3 weeks, because our instructor, who was gonna do the road instructions, he actually got sick, and they have to find a replacement. And so in order to basically keep us going, they just added more on-the-job trainings for us. But we're actually supposed to be in class this week for on-the-road training. And our class is going to be pushed out another 3 weeks. So my training went from 17 weeks to about now it'll be about 20 weeks of training now. Unless they find that replacement instructor who can instruct us on this road training. So you got to expect stuff like that with hiccups. No one can predict that was going to happen, but the instructor just happened to got really sick, and he just can't make it right now. So hopefully he gets better and he can come and do the training. I actually heard he was a really good guy and really fun to listen to and get good advice from. He's been doing it a long time. So everybody was pretty disappointed that, he won't be instructing as of what we know right now. That could change though. So I also got, as you can see, I got my new hire cap. On my last video, you might have seen me wearing the green sweater hat. So, the weather's breaking a little bit. It's getting a little bit nicer. So now, they gave us the new hire baseball caps. I call them the greenhorn hats. This is how the old heads or the veterans, the guys that's been there a long time, this is how they know we're new hires and that we don't really know what we're doing. So keep your eyes on us. Make sure we don't get killed. So just wearing these hats, let them know, okay, that's a new hire. So they just kind of keep their eyes on us, make sure we're doing everything safely. I don't, the railroad, I don't care what company you work for. Safety is always huge when it comes to the railroad. I don't care if you work for UP, CN, BN, it don't matter. Every railroad's gonna talk safety, safety, safety. There has been in the past just a lot of deaths on the railroad, and that's why they come out with the rule books. And the rule books are said to be written in blood, because if there's a rule, that means that somebody died not following the rules, and they eventually added that rule in the book. Can't do this, can't do that. So you gotta be real careful. It's real easy, especially in the wintertime. When I was on my first week of on-the-job training, I found myself standing in between the rails. A train could come and I wouldn't even know it. It's hard to see the tracks in the snow. So, I'm up north, so the snow is all, it was always snowing when I got here in February last month. And it's hard to see the rails. If it's fresh snow, you don't even know you're standing on a rail track, So you got to be careful where you're walking and just what you're doing. And yeah, you could get killed if you're not paying attention. So that's why you have to be focused when you're if you decide to come out here and work. If you guys got any questions about the training or working for the railroad, feel free to post them on the comments. I can give you a live answer if you're watching. Other than that, I just kind of wanted to touch base on just the hiring process a little bit. I know I talked about it in I think my last video, but I don't feel like I went too much in depth. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. So what I do know is that UP and BN and Norfolk Southern, they all seem to have, I think the assessment tests, they're about similar. So if you can, when you apply for the railroad, you're gonna most likely take an assessment test online, and then if you pass that test, UP, they'll let you know right when you're done if you passed it or not. They'll say, hey, congratulations. BN, they let me know within probably about 10 minutes. They sent an email saying if you got this email, then you most likely passed the test. And then when I applied for Norfolk Southern, it took them a couple hours to, or maybe even a day, to let me know I passed the test. Now, CN, their test was completely different than the other ones, and it was a little bit harder too. So It has some math on there, I believe, and my math, it kind of sucks because I don't remember a lot of that stuff. I graduated from high school a long time ago, and a lot of that math I haven't used in a long time. So CN was one of the harder tests. I do remember that. UP, BN, and Norfolk Southern, those tests were about the same, and there were no math. It was just all kind of like reading or your basic questions about personality and things like that. And you just have to use common sense. You know, it was not a hard test. I think it's just a common sense test. So it's definitely something you got to look forward to if you want to apply. Just know that you most likely will do an assessment test. So with UP, when I went to their interview session, just be aware that I have heard, I have not seen it yet, but I have heard that some of these interview sessions, they will take hair. So just be prepared to give up some hair to do like a drug test, and be on your A game with that, because they will take a hair sample right out the gate. I've been to the UP interview, and when I went in for my BN interview, none of those did the hair test. I didn't do my hair test until I got a conditional offer. And then part of that conditional offer was that I passed the urine test and the hair test, but that was over at a medical facility. But I have heard that some of these hiring events, they will ask for the hair sample right away. So just be ready to pass that. They do like people with a good driving record. I can almost tell you right now that if you got any kind of DUIs on your record within the last probably 3 years, it might not be looking good for you with a DOT background check. So, you know, if you're a truck driver, you already know that the DOT check is huge when it comes to getting a job as a truck driver. The same thing applies for the railroad. They definitely do not want somebody who has some DUIs. I think, you know, they look for accidents too, but I think the most important thing they look for is just drug or alcohol related stuff. Just be consistent on your applications with your information as far as your education. If you did military, be prepared to show them some of your military paperwork. So that's all they really want at these hiring events. They just want consistency. So just come in there, tell them the truth. You know, don't lie about where you worked. Don't lie that saying you were in the military if you wasn't. Don't say that you don't have a felony if you do. A lot of these railroads, they will hire, you know, you if you had a felony. I mean, it just depends on what you did, how long ago it was, and so don't, you know, you have to be honest. If you had a felony, you have to say you had a felony and try your luck. You know, I mean, don't lie because they're going to find out. They do the FRA background check, so you definitely want to be honest on your application. So let me try to organize this whole conversation. You want to pass the assessment test when you apply. After the assessment test, look for an invitation for an interview. I can tell you that the railroad does like veterans. You got a really good chance if you are a veteran. You got a really good chance if you are a truck driver, because truck drivers, they already know the lifestyle. You know, you're going to work long hours. You're going to work in the elements, snow, heat, all that. So it's about the same thing. Or just a construction worker who also has experience working outside. But that doesn't mean that they won't hire you if you don't, because actually I've heard of them hiring bartenders and waitresses or waiters or whatever. So they have this little thing that they know who they want. It doesn't necessarily always come down to what you know or who you know. It just depends on your personality and when you interview. I mean, your background as far as what you've done may not have anything to do with it. So just bring your A game to the hiring event. When you go to the hiring events, just know that it could take almost up to 8 hours. It's going to probably be between 20 and 50 people. So depending on where your last name falls or what time you got there, you could be there waiting for your interview for a while. My best advice is to get to know some of those guys in that hiring event, because you most likely will be hired with some of those guys. And it'd be nice to know some people in your class when you do get hired. So, don't be shy, make friends. A lot of these guys are going to give you good advice. Some of the guys that have worked for the railroad before, they give you advice on, or just tell you what it's like to work for the railroad. And actually, when I went to my BN interview, there was a guy that worked for UP. He was with Union Pacific. He was a young kid. He had been about 23. And he was just trying to relocate out to this area. And that's why he was applying at BN. I guess his seniority over at UP wasn't enough to get him to this location. So he wanted to apply here. But yeah, he talked about, he told a lot of us guys who were in the hiring event what to expect. And that was helpful. So talk to people at these hiring events. You're going to have a lot of time on your hands before your interview. So get to know people and just come with your A game. Just be prepared to know you might be there for a while. When I went to the interview with BN, that was a 7-hour drive. I went to that interview because they invited me, and I felt like, hey, if I'm going to work for the railroad, this could be my only shot. So I decided to go ahead and take the drive out there. And I'm glad I did, because I ended up getting a job. So so just know there's a lot of locations you can work for. I chose the Superior location, which is about 7 hours from me. There's locations in California, Florida, Minneapolis, all over. So wherever you apply is where you will be applying for to be hired. So just know that if you apply somewhere in California and you go to the interview and you get the job, then that's mostly where they want you to be. So only apply to an area if you're ready to commit to that area. When I applied, I didn't realize that Superior was 7 hours away, to be honest. I kind of saw Wisconsin and was like, oh, this is in Wisconsin, I'm good. And then when I got ready to go to the interview, I did a map quest and it said 7 hours. I was like, oh, snap. So that was my bad. But since, it's so hard to get a job with the railroad, and a lot of people, they even go as far as going to railroad school. It's called like Choo Choo U. It's a school you can go to, and that school will prepare you for the railroad, and you kind of get like a degree in transportation and railroading. And some guys go as far as going to a railroad school and then coming to work for the railroad company, where you're going to get trained all over again. Except when you come to work for the company, they're going to pay you for training. So me personally, I'd rather get the job first and let the company pay for my training versus going to a school paying like $7,000 and then trying to find a job in the railroad. And that could probably take a while. Although it could help you get your foot in the door. Seeming that they saw that you went to school, they said, okay, he's serious about it. And, we know he's serious that he wants the job. So, but other than that, I would definitely just apply to a couple places first and just try your luck. Like I said, I tried UP first. That was in the Milwaukee location. I would have went to training in Chicago. That would have been paid for, the hotel, everything, but I didn't get that job over there for whatever reason. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know, exactly what they look for. They just know. So I didn't get it, but I did get the job with BN. So I'm grateful for that. And I think it worked out for the best because BN is an awesome company to work for. And I'm glad I did get the job with them, even though it is farther away from home. And I had to make that sacrifice when it comes to my kids. But I'm working on that and getting that figured out. But for right now, the sacrifice I'm making is just to be give my kids a better life. And working for the railroad can do that. They offer scholarship programs for your kids. Like I said, the money's great, the pension's great. If you're married and you retire from the railroad, your spouse will get half of your pension, but you still get your full pension and she gets whatever you got, half of what you get. So let's say I retired and I got $500,000 in my pension. She gets 250 of that. So together we got $750,000 as a household. So that's awesome. I mean, for a job that's going to give your spouse half of your pension plus they're going to give you your full pension and there's 401k. I mean, who else, not a lot of other companies do that. So when you're working for the railroad, you're not paying into Social Security, you're paying into railroad retirement. So it's different than working for, another company. So yeah, back to the whole hiring process. So yeah, just know when you go to these hiring events, you might be there for a while. Be patient, work on, what you're gonna say, and just know that they're gonna ask you a lot of questions about safety. Be prepared to talk about situations that you had to be safe at work or something that was unsafe that you saw. Another good thing you can do is glassdoor.com. It will post a lot of interview questions and things like that. As you can also get reviews from Glassdoor about companies. So if you ever wanted to know what it would be like to work for a railroad, just type in that name of that company and you can get reviews from people on the website. So yeah, that's that. That's about it for the hiring process. Just don't go in there if you know you smoked weed the day before or a week before. Don't even. You might get lucky and they might not ask for a hair test and you might have time to get it cleared up, but I'm just saying, why chance it? If you got an opportunity to get a good job, it's not even worth it to be smoking and all that and ruining your chances. So I would just say, if you know you want to work on the railroad, just start clearing your body out right now and getting ready for that drug test. Be prepared to get a lot of information thrown at you. When you go to the hiring event, they're going to give you a good idea of what it's going to be like to work as a conductor trainee, which is like what I'm doing. They're going to show you some videos. They're going to tell you straight up. They're not going to sugarcoat it. They're going to tell you that you're going to most likely be working all the weekends. You're going to work the holidays. And this is if you're just starting out like me. You're a new hire and you've got less than 5 years in a company. You most likely will definitely be working the weekends. I mean, not every weekend, but I'm just saying you will be working some weekends. You will be working some holidays. And you might be missing your kids' recital, your kids' play. you're going to miss some stuff. So you got to give up something to be in this industry. So prepare yourself to do that. Again, you know, anybody watching, if you guys got questions about the railroad, just, you know, let me know. I'll answer your questions right here while I'm, you know, while we're all here. But other than the work-life balance, which, you know, I've always been a hard worker. So like I said, I worked a 12-hour shift job and I ran a business for 10 years. I already know what it's like to work hard. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I feel like work-life balance is very important. And you really have to be careful with that. You don't want to neglect your family because you're working too much. So be careful when it comes to that. A lot of guys on a railroad will tell you that they've got a divorce while working on the railroad because their wife could not stand them being gone. And some wives, I've heard, love it because they're, you know, the guy, you know, they're making so much money and they're taking care of everything and spoiling the wife. And the wife says, hey, when are you going back out? You know, so it depends on everything depends. Well, just be prepared to know that you're going to be giving up something. But the job itself, I got to say that working on the railroad is not a hard job. You know, I can say that I've had hard work. Like, you know, I worked at the chemical plants for a long time. And a lot of that was very hard work, you know, stressful. But on the railroad, easy peasy. And it's fun, you know, you can ride on the cars. They call it riding a point. If you're standing up and you're riding on the front of the engine, you're riding a point. If you're in the back and you're riding and you're just holding on to one of the ladders on the back, you know, that means you're riding a shove. So that's pretty fun, especially when it's nice outside and you want that cool air. You can ride the back and kind of take a ride for a little bit. But as far as the job itself, it's not a hard job. It's a lot of railroaders will tell you that the railroad is one of the easiest jobs you ever have with the most money you ever make without ever going to college. A lot of these guys have worked with the railroad and have stayed with the railroad for 30, 40 plus years. When it comes to the pension, for the most part, you want to put in, I know with the BN where I work, they say you put in 30 years to become fully vested. You can be vested at 5 years, but at 30 years, you can get your full pension. And there's guys, engineers at the railroad who are working way past their 30 years. They just love the job so much. They're making so much money. They're not ready to go. So a lot of times, you know, it's almost like they got to get kicked out, you know, but that doesn't really happen. I mean, you know, they could get offered a buyout to leave, but that means they're going to be offered a lot of money to retire. But a lot of railroaders, they don't leave. It's easy money and it's easy work. Like I said, the hardest part of the railroad, and I'm going to tell you what they say, is your availability. You know, a lot of people have asked me, how much do you make? How much can a railroad pay? But straightforward answer is that they are paying for your availability. They're going to call you a lot of times. You're going to be on what they call that extra board. And they're going to say, hey, we need you to be at XYZ at this time. And when they call you, you have an hour and 30 minutes to report. That's with where I'm working. UP could be different. It could be different at other railroads. But where I'm at, they give you an hour, 30 minutes. So you got plenty of time to know, okay, I got an hour and 30 minutes to go to work. So always have your phone on you. Always have a bag packed with your equipment and your work stuff. Because if you go to the movies or something like that and you get that call, you got to get ready to go and be on time. So you got an hour, 30 minutes to get out there. If you go somewhere with your spouse, you might want to drive separate cars because they might not want to leave that movie if you get a call and you're at a movie, you know. But, you know, that's the extra part of, that's the on-call. There is some on-call stuff, but that's not all bad because there's a lot of times when you don't get called and you could end up getting 3-4 days off in a row. But with that being said, you still get a guaranteed pay. So even though you don't work a full 5 days, if they don't call you, that's not your fault. So they're going to pay you anyway because, you know, you're guaranteed a certain dollar amount regardless if you worked or not. Is, you know, the biggest thing is if they do call you, you want to report to work. And that's all they care about. The one way to get fired on the railroad is not reporting to work. And if you are on that extra board and you know you might get that call, you might not want to have that drink when you go out to dinner. Because the last thing you want to do is have those drinks and then you're all tipsy and next thing you know, you get that call to come into work and you ain't all together. And, you know, so be careful and just have if it's your off day, then that's fine and you know you're good. But if you're on the call board and you could possibly get that call, you might want to take into consideration that you might not be able to have those drinks you might want because you could be working an hour from now. So just be careful what you're doing. You don't want to lose your job over something, you know, stupid like that. You know, don't report to work all drunk and messed up. You're better off just not even showing up. So just be careful if you find yourself working for the railroad and you're on call and, you know, you're in that situation. So yeah, if you guys got any topics you want me to discuss about the railroad, feel free to give me some advice on what you like to hear about. As far as me, you know, it's week 5 and I'm still here. We started off with 17 people. I've already talked about this in my other video, but if you didn't watch my other video, I'm going to say it again just to get everybody caught up. You know, we started out with 17 people. Right out the bat, about 3 days in, one guy got fired. So the railroad does not mess around. So just because you got the offer, you got the job, don't think you're safe. As a new hire, you're not in the union right away. You got to wait about 60 days, 60 to 90 days before you're a member of the union. I think 60 when it comes to being. So until you are in that union, there is no protection and you can get let go very easily for doing something unsafe or just plain out stupid, you know. So this particular person that we lost, you know, he got let go. It was something regarding the code of conduct. So when you do get the job, know the code of conduct, know what you're allowed to do, what is not allowed. A lot of it is common sense. You know sexual harassment is not allowed any workplace you go to. You know discrimination is not allowed any place you go to. So just have common sense. If you have common sense, you most likely will keep your job. So just be prepared to try to not do anything dumb while you're in your training. And just think safety when you're out there and you're on the job training. Don't try to think you got to impress people. Don't come out here acting like you know everything, because there is those type of people that act like they know everything. We don't have anybody like that in our class, but I have heard of people who come out there and, you know, their father worked for a railroad and there's somebody worked for the railroad, so they think they know everything about the railroad and they're going to correct the instructor, they're going to correct the people out there and tell them how they should be doing their job. Don't be, and my instructor calls it, don't be a new old head. You know, don't come out here brand new, but act like you're an old head that you've been working here for years. So just be humble. You know, you're out here on the railroad. It's very unsafe. Take in as much advice as you can from your instructor, from the people you work with. Listen to what these people are saying to you. Everything they tell you is because they've been working on the railroad a long time. And a lot of guys I work with when I was on the job training has been, look, man, I just want to get you home safely today. You know, they'll let me do hand signs. They'll let me do some radio chatter, and they'll let me practice a lot of things. But for the most part, on the job training, they will say safety is what is more important to them, and they want to just make sure that you come home safe. So yeah, just know that, you know, even on the job training, you're not expected to know everything. I had 3 weeks so far on the job training, and for the most part, a lot of guys will tell you, they're like, look, man, you're not going to learn this job in 3 weeks. It's probably going to take you a year to know all the names of the tracks, all the switches, you know, the routes the trains take. They say, hey, you're not going to learn everything in your on the job training. Don't even try. For right now, just think safety and make sure you're working safe. And that's good to hear, you know, because there is a lot to learn. And these guys understand that, you know, us new hires aren't going to catch on our first 3 weeks. And luckily for us, you know, we got an extra 3 weeks of training because of the situation I told you about earlier in the video. And I'm glad for that, because the more training we can get, that's just more learning for us, which will help us with the final exam at the end and just a better understanding of the job itself. So I've done 3 weeks already, and I most likely have been on about 5 or 6 different jobs. All the jobs are numbered. They call it a 4-digit number, and they all do something different. As far as the industries they work for, you know, some jobs they might be working for, doing stuff for a paper mill. Some jobs do stuff for the energy company. Some jobs do stuff for granite and rocks. You know, they go get rail cars from them, and then they give them new ones, and then you pull them out and all that. So there's a lot of industries that the railroad caters to. You know, I've been into the chemical plants. Even when I worked at a chemical plant, we used railroads for the chemicals that we were using. You know, I took chemicals out of the rail car and into the plant and to make the product. So a lot of our raw materials came from the rail cars. And I'm on the other side of it. Now I'm the guy bringing the chemical companies those chemical raw materials. So there's a lot to learn. It's going to be nice tomorrow I'm going to start a new job. And our instructor did things a little differently because, you know, this time they're going to put us on jobs a little longer. Before, like I said, we were on a job for like 2 days, and then we'll be on another job for like 3 days. And we were doing a lot of turning and switching jobs. So now he's going to try to keep us on one job for like a week straight so that we can actually get more familiar with that job and learn the system of the job and get more familiar with the people we're working with. And so I'm kind of looking forward to, you know, to that change that we're going to do. So my experience so far has been, it's been wild. It's been a wild ride. I mean, I'm in a whole new area. I'm up here in Superior/Duluth, Minnesota. They're like right across the bridge from each other. So when I get bored of Superior, I just go across the bridge into Minnesota. And that's like a whole other world over there. So I kind of hang out over there. They got a place over in Duluth called Canal Park, which is huge for tourists. A lot of attractions. They have a lot of old ships that used to do a lot of the import and exporting stuff out there, museums. It's huge for tourists. So if you're ever looking for a place to come to for to visit, You'll be surprised, but Duluth, Minnesota in the summer will be a nice place to come visit. And Superior Lake is awesome in the summer, from what I heard. Just a lot of events on the water, things like that. Or even in the winter, here in Superior, about 2 weeks ago, all the hotels were booked up because of the ski resorts, snowmobiling. You know, there's so many snow and related, things people do, ice hockey and all that crap. So a lot of people come for the wintry stuff. We still have snow up this way where a lot of places don't have snow. So people come up here for the skiing and all that snowy stuff. So it's actually pretty cool, to visit this place if you ever wanted to something different besides, Florida, California, try coming out here to up north, Minnesota, Superior. Check out Superior, Lake Superior. The fishing and everything is good from what I hear. Once it gets nicer out, I will do some live videos while, just doing some walking around and kind of showing you guys what the scenery's like up here. Yesterday I was out on the lake, near the lake, and the lake is still like frozen. It's still like snow and ice on the lake. And I've heard that the lake can have snow and ice up to like May. Like people will walk on the ice up in May and actually skate. They ice skate in May because the ice has not thawed yet. But it's a pretty cool sight to see. They have a lot of old ships that are just posted right there in the lake as part of the scenery and all this stuff. And it's actually pretty cool to see some of the stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna, do some videos and kind of show you guys that. But as far as everything goes with me in the railroad, my biggest challenge has been just finding time to go back home and see my daughter and my son. Every time I tried, I had to work late because something happened or we got busy. So I just have not had the opportunity to go home yet. Time has been flying since I've been out here. When it comes to just the training, the on-the-job training and everything, you get focused and time starts to go, like I'm already in week 5 and I've been wanting to post a video every week, but for the most part, I've just been tired and I just haven't had the energy to do it. So I'm trying to get better on that and keep everybody updated. Okay, so it's been about an hour and I don't think I've talked about much of anything. So I'm going to try to have a better topic on my next video here. If you guys want to help me out, let me know what you want me to talk about when it comes to the railroad and give me some ideas and I can make a video and give you guys some insight. Until then, I guess, I'll see you on the rails. If you are interested, like I said, go to Indeed.com, go to railroad, type in keyword railroad jobs, apply, okay? Cast a wide net is what I was told when I started. I watched YouTube videos and things like that on how to get a job on a railroad and what it would be like. And a lot of those guys will tell you, cast a wide net, apply to as many as you can until you get that interview and everything like that. So go ahead, apply to BN, apply to UP, apply to CN, apply to CP, CSX, Amtrak, Metra. There's a lot of railroads out here, and the railroading business is good right now. So if you ever wanted to do something different, you want to mix it up, you want to reinvent yourself, go ahead and put that application in, and experience it. It's a journey. It's one of those things that you do once in your lifetime. I'm glad I did it. I was terrified about it. I was terrified about learning a new trade and leaving, my city and going to a new city and all that. But I had to step out of my comfort zone, so sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone if you want something to change in your life. So if you guys are looking to change something in your life, then make that change and apply for the railroad and do something different for your life, for yourself, your kids. You want that better pension or retirement plan? The railroad has that for you. You want a good retirement? You want to live decent when you retire? Go for that retirement pension with the railroad. It's awesome. All right. So until then, post your comments. Ask me questions. Tell me what you want me to talk about in my next video. It's week 5 right now. I'll try to do another video by the end of the week before I go into week 6. Until then, I'll see you on the rails. Peace out.